Hello everyone, System Chalk with the next episode. I believe this is the 8th episode of Ike Upscribe's Apostle Obsonate, a playthrough of Cultist Simulator. As always, if you'd like to get notifications for these, feel free to hit the subscription button and the little notification bell beside it. If you haven't, you may have hit the subscription button but not the bell. And if you like this stuff, I'd love it if you would leave a comment, or if you'd put a like or even a dislike if it's not working for you. If you can let me know how I could improve, that's always best, but please be kind in your comments. Now, when we last left the episode, we took the Deeper Sanctuary. We were in the Forgotten Mithraeum. We're just about to see the treasures within it. So we use Neville to open up the hidden door. We do have two other tasks ahead of us: the Congregation of St. Felix of Shurin and Strathcoin's residence. These are a little bit more risky for me to deal with, but we'll see where we're sitting at the end of the playthrough. And then we have been using Slee to find out what the Long is after us. Actually, it says here, Long's plans revealed a respite. Our enemy will not move against us this time. They will rest, and perhaps in resting they will grow stronger. So this gives me a little bit of time off. We do have Old Unhappy Far Off Things coming up, so after we finish our shift at Glover and Glover, we're going to head straight into painting to get rid of the restlessness that comes out of that. But overall, we're looking pretty good. We've gotten rid of most of the problems that we were dealing with in the previous episodes. Alright, so we've added Yzabet to the cult. Yzabet slips and fits and starts. She rises at dusk to do the things a Yzabet does. So Yzabet is another moth follower, so now all of a sudden I'm going to feel a lot better about going after the Congregation of St. Felix of Shurin. But let's just take the Order of the Bloody Cup, let's add Yzabet again, and let's turn her into a full-on disciple. My follower will rise, kneel as a novice and rise as an initiate. I will administer the necessary oaths myself. Now, some of you who've played Cultist Simulator might wonder why I'm staying at the junior work for Glover and Glover, and this is just because the time demands that will come from advancing will prevent me from being able to do painting and other activities. So right now this is just about generating enough money to survive. If I feel like I need to start pushing that a little bit further, I'll try and climb up the ladder, but at the moment here I'm really just using Glover and Glover as a chance to make a little extra money for low risk. So the altar tilts back like a jaw. Behind it is the pyramid space where only the sun hunters and dawn givers might go, but others have been here too, much more recently. They have left their treasures. So that's some excellent work there, Neville. We've got the notoriety for doing the investigation, or doing the expedition. So this, of course, is one of the reasons why I sent Sylvia out to deal with the evidence. And we've got a cracked noonstone, so I don't really want to do anything with that yet. Noon, as the saying goes, is not what it was, but this stone still retains an embery glow. It has been cracked. A forge-aspected follower could restore it with sufficient resources, or I could use up what power remains in it. We've got the Elgabaline Manacle. It does not relinquish its grip, so this is a fairly valuable item if I really needed to get some needed to get some extra money. We could send it off to the auction house, but you know, 8 winter is not something that's easy to come by. We've got Refulgin, white so pure that it remains visible even in utter darkness. And this is something that I can paint with. This is indicated from the pigment aspect. And finally, we have a location, the Empty Mithraeum. This was a place of worship once. We could make it so again. Alright, so I've also finished reading. So the words contain knowledge. Now I contain it. It is a little like theft, a little like feasting, and a little like the progress of an infectious disease. So the question for me right now is, do I feel that I have enough money to be able to buy things from Moorlands, or do I want to be trying to go to other locations to try and steal the items? And at this point, I actually think I'm going to save my money to go to the Congregation of St. Felix of Shurin, but I am going to wait a little while. Well, you know, come to think of it, I could send Sylvia on that expedition right now. So, a nonconformist enclave of a heterodox sect of a Calvinist offshoot tucked away in an odd corner of the city. They belt out hymns with unsuitable gusto in this throat-scraping language that is very much not quite Latin. Membership of the congregation is strictly controlled. It may even be inherited. The safest approach is to burgle the minister's residence while he's conducting a service, but the sworn mothers of the congregation guard the place in shifts, and they are not so easily distracted. Expeditions need at least 1 funds per obstacle. Followers will defeat obstacles. If you run out of funds or followers, the expedition ends. So I'm sending Sylvia as sort of the front line, but the hope here is that Yzabet's initiation is to the higher mysteries of the Order of the Bloody Cup. Obviously, she's already part of the cult, but the hope here is that Sylvia will be Ysabet will be done in time, so that Ysabet will have some support when it comes time to bamboozle the Guardians. Now, as far as the study verb is concerned, we don't have any books, so we will read whatever is to hand. The big risk here, and this will be true for Strathcoin as well, is because we're not just dealing with obstacles, but we're dealing with people who can hurt us. We want to, we don't want to lose cultists, given that we're quite limited in what we have already. The clerks file out in science. I am free for now, so we're going to take the opportunity to use my imagination. A little notoriety isn't the worst thing in the world, given the fact that I'm going to be able to turn that into money. And we'll use my restlessness as my inspiration. Alright, so I can take an occult scrap. I think I'm going to get that, actually. This is just because I don't have all of the expeditions in the capital yet. So I walked in the wood last night, and the scissors worked in the distance, and the furred things crammed in my mouth and swarmed my ears, and I felt the old urge to drop to wolf fours and nose among the roots. But I remembered that I walk upright by day, and I know fire and steel and words, and at last I found where the velvet had concealed a secret on tree bark beneath moss. I read it then with the tips of my fingers, and I think now that I could write it in full. So in that dream we found something inside of the capital which we can follow up on. Of course, our expedition is, our Explorer slot is currently being used with the expedition, so there's nothing we can really do about that right now. But we'll have it prepared for the next occasion. And really, there's no reason not to go back to the way to the wood. So if I have enough passion, I can walk the dream road to the wood. If I have the right knowledge, I might be able to find the way beyond it. And I'm sticking with the wood right now just because it's the easiest way for me to grab these occult scraps. Now I pass between the scarbark trees, the moon passes behind branches, though her fingers remain in my hair. I'm stumbling over roots now. It is tempting to drop to all fours to avoid the low branches. Pale wings move deep in the night. Our expedition plans for the next challenge. It'll consume funds. I can add funds now, or I could send another follower. So we've got monks, contemplatives, blessed or condemned to service here. They're bound by their curious vows. We can murder them or deceive them, but they will not be seduced. Spend money on paints. I could use spend money on paints, or perhaps I could find more exotic pigments. And in pain we are born, in hunger we are embraced, in delight we are devoured. These are the gates of the body, and this is her promise. Not all that is born decays. In remembrance of that promise, we give ourselves to the feast. And so we have Ysabet, a disciple, level 5 moth follower. Ysabet was just here, just a moment ago. Just here. Almost certainly. And so we now have 10 moth to deal with deal with the monks. I'm going to speak of esoteric matters. This of course generates mystique, but it does also generate more cultists as well. Monks, a potent deception. We have brought here certain sacred texts whose meaning is apparent only in moonlight. Okay, the artist's reward. So there's the mystique, which we were kind of expecting. Got contentment for my trouble. More mystique. More mystique. There's the notoriety. Oh, and 3 funds. That's a decent return. And no staleness, but we do need to go back to Glover and Glover, otherwise we're going to lose the job. So, and again, the words contain knowledge. Now I contain it. It's a little like theft, and a little like feasting, and a little like the progress of an infectious disease. So the erudition's not going to expire yet, so I'm just going to try pushing this. This is kind of the brute force way of me getting a higher level of scholarship, but it's a little bit easier for me to pull off. So I'm not doing this with my glimmering right now, simply because the likelihood of me being able to get enough lessons learned out of this approach is less likely than, say, grabbing some extra erudition for, just kind of reading enough books. So if you think about it, a little bit like life, right? If you maybe you're just out of high school and you're sufficiently motivated, you can learn quite a bit about advanced subjects by picking up a book. I mean, this is, my music player broke when I'd moved to Vancouver pretty much straight out of high school. Certainly didn't have money to get a new music player, so I you know, in desperation, I went to a library and I actually found out that I really liked classics. So while I've never, I mean, I knew I liked it, so I took a couple of classics courses for my electives in school. But it's fair to say that what you can learn just by reading will take you to a certain level. But of course, past that, you really need to start doing some dedicated work. And that's sort of modeled inside of this game here, which is that, you know, going from your raw material, your raw insight, and obviously as somebody who's reading occult tomes and, you know, you start off as a hospital porter for some of the backgrounds, you kind of have a base level of intelligence. You're not, you know, you're not just some guy. But of course, the deeper insight that you want, the more advanced intelligence that you want, the harder you have to work at it. And what's of course so interesting about this game is that sometimes it's through supernatural means that you're able to be pushed over the edge. I certainly can't claim that for my own knowledge, but then I think some might question as to what level of erudition I'm really at. So anyways, for now, we'll use the Peculiar Rumor. This does create a little bit of a risk in terms of the amount of notoriety that I've generated, but notoriety is a fuel for my painting, so there's that tension which I'm happy to run with for now. This might lead me to someone I need, or it might... Oh, actually, I'm going to skip the Peculiar Rumor this time because I'm not 100% sure I'm going to be able to finish the expedition in time, so Temple of the Wheel instead, and we got a Furtive Truth for the effort. A detail smuggled in from an adjacent narrative. Don't speak where this may be overheard. Exploring with this scrap of knowledge may uncover secret locations in the Shires. In my sleep, I came to the high jagged rock which is called the Temple of the Wheel. The hour called the Wheel is long extinct, although... Sorry. Another hand had scratched a secret in the black lantern on its flank. I buried that secret in my memory to preserve it for waking, before the Velvet came out of the Velvet wood depths and erased it. The Velvet is jealous of her secrets. So there's going to be a little bit of a contest for space between my followers and my lore, it looks like, but I'll make it all balance out in the end. We'll stick with the way to the wood. We'll throw the passion in. And we'll wait for the results. The Monk's Wrath. They're stronger and wiser than we had supposed, and now their blows have found a mark. So I hope I don't lose a member, but I suspect we will. A rising power. Our immortal enemy has allies and resources in many nations. They move slowly, but as time passes, they will bring more and more of those allies and resources to bear against us. Supplies are low. Unless I send more funds, we'll have to abandon the expedition. So it looks like we didn't lose a follower after all. Alright, let's go painting again. And I guess we'll use the Fleeting Reminiscence this time, seeing as I don't have anything more obvious to throw in. Alright, so if I want to keep this erudition, I'm going to have to double it up into a lesson learnt. I don't mind doing that right now. We still have enough time with our freshest erudition. The Wolf Despair prowls elsewhere. No dread empowers this despair. It's over for now. And we will be getting the blood next round now. We have not had much luck turning that blood into the... Well, we've had luck turning it into the spices. We've just had difficulty being able to pass that auction. I suspect we will run into the same problem again, but let's see what we can do to get a pot of money that we can turn into you know, turn into a relic. Let's stop by the well again. Well, vitality's not too bad. Exercise or something rarer has invigorated me. The well in the the well in the wood is sacred to the Grail, the hour that hungers, and to the Velvet, the hour that guards secrets. Tonight, as I approached, it heaved with the Velvet's moss, struggling waves of deep and vibrant green pulsing again and again from its throat. It surged around my calves, rose to my thighs, and this morning, I still feel the Velvet's breath strong within me. Okay. Let's do... You know what? I know it's a little boring, but let's keep going to the wood because I've got passion to spare and I still have more places that I can explore. We have brought with us... you guys again. We have brought here certain sacred texts whose meaning is apparent only in moonlight. Rote effort. Honestly, I'm only going through the motions. The quality of my work will no doubt suffer. Competent work. There's nothing to be ashamed of here. Alright, so Valsine, an acquaintance. Valsine has operated her establishment for almost 20 years. She has never employed an assistant. Her hands are terribly strong. You may be able to recruit this acquaintance as a follower. So this is a forge follower. There is a question for me in terms of whether or not it's better for me to try and bring more people into the cult and have them available for these expeditions right away, or just to have the option of bringing people inside. At this point here, having an additional, let's say, aspect. So a forge follower is worth it to me. So in this case, we're going to bring her into the Order of the Bloody Cup right away, as opposed to trying to bring in the option of another individual. But that's not necessarily a decision I will make every time. So this one is ready. My recent work has accrued modest fame. The paintings have reviewed well. So there's Mystique. We got an extra glimmering to show for it. Oh, and we did make 3 monies off of that. And we did get quite a bit of staleness out of that too, though. So let's send ourselves off to Glover and Glover. I'm going to need to paint with some passion to try and get that staleness down. But then again, it wouldn't be that bad for me to let some of this notoriety expire as well. The monk's delusion. Faith is a double-edged weapon. These monks have great talent in the matter of believing, and so they have believed our lies. My mind, the library. Use this lesson learned with your scholarship skill. Well, we're not quite ready to use it with the scholarship skill, so... but we will. A courier has arrived from our... We'll read that later. At this point, I think I feel secure in the peculiar rumor, so... While I was returning from... While I was returning to the depths, one appeared in front of my eyes, whose mouth was sealed. When I saw them in the great emptiness, I cried out. I think that last night I met another soul in the wood. I will never recall exactly what we said one to another, but I think that we will recognize each other in the waking world. So I'll need to remember to use that peculiar rumor, but that will help me get some more bodies for the cult. And a courier has arrived from our delight with a single vial of their most holy blood. Now, this is a bit of a conundrum because we've got 236 seconds of the delightful blood, but 281 seconds of the last batch. So we are going to need to sell this off. But with any luck, we won't have to wait too long for the next courier package. Oh god, okay, well, we've got another one coming up, so that'll probably be enough time. It's going to be a tight window, though. Alright, so Valsine. Valsine's ingenuities are endless, and her grip is stronger than a blacksmith's. So, again, I might as well turn her into a disciple before we go too far down the road. And you know what? I think this rumor is actually going to expire. I think I misstepped as far as the time it's going to take to finish this. In from the night, our spy has returned to us. So again, I don't really have a lot of use for Slee at the moment with my current expedition, so I'm happy to send him after the long again. I think I'm going to try... I'll be honest, I don't feel 100% happy with this choice, but I'm running with it. We'll do a portrait of Eldridge. This is partly just to get rid of the staleness, but what might happen here is I'm going to try and sell the delightful blood at a point where I'm not going to be able to afford it. We'll see, though. I walked in the wood again last night, and the scissors worked in the distance, and furred things crammed my mouth and swarmed my ears, and I felt the old urge to drop to wolf-fours and nose among the roots, but I remembered that I walk upright by day, and I know fire and steel and words, and at last I found where the velvet had concealed a secret on tree bark beneath moss. I read it then with the tips of my fingers, and now I think that I could write it in full. So I'm going to, I know that it's past the 20-minute mark. I'm going to give myself just a little bit longer to see the treasures. In pain we are born, in hunger we are embraced, in delight we are devoured. These are the gates of the body, and this is her promise. Not all that is born decays. In remembrance of that promise, we give ourselves to the feast. So let's take a look at our goodies. Secret devotions. The minister's bedchamber is grand in proportion, but sparsely furnished. Beneath the window, a feathered ornamental axe rests beside an enamel chalice drum on a little altar of yew wood. Beneath the altar, in a box secured with a complicated triple knot, we find a trove of books, and more besides. A knife rank with old blood, a twist of cloth, a leathery remnant of something the minister must have surrendered at his ordination. So, good work to Yzabet and Sylvia. And we've got the Rose of Nuriel, Kerner and Gut, so that is going to help me learn Greek. De Bellis Murorum, that's a text in Latin. Cion et Abydos, the Rose of Wanzai, another Greek text. And the Unattended Church, so another potential headquarters for ourselves. So, not a bad haul at all. The question now will be whether or not we want to go to Strathcoins right away, or maybe we want to save our money for a bid on some spices, but we will answer all of that in next week's episode. Thank you very much for watching, and we'll see you in a week.